Hi YouTube, and I'm on my way to the office this morning, and I thought one of the things I've been meaning to make a video on is grading generally, and I haven't had very much time because of all the submissions by Silver Forum members, so they've kept me busy with all these unboxings and unboxings of their coins and unboxings of the coins that come back from NGC. But maybe it's time to pause and just think about whether grading is an abomination, it's heading into the abyss, it is something that is to be condemned at all times, or whether grading is a force for good, or maybe whether grading is, sometimes something which is to be given a very, very thoughtful approach on before going ahead and grading coins. I've probably graded something like 900 coins with NGC, so I think I'm probably in a fairly good place to understand what people are grading, maybe why they're grading it, and what the benefits really are. There's a lot of polarity when it comes to grading. There's a huge camp out there that says grading is a total and utter waste of time and money, and there's another lot of people that say grading is a great way to potentially add value to your collection, and also to preserve and protect it. So maybe we'll give some thought in this video to why I've chosen grading over raw coins, and why other people think grading is such an absolutely bad idea, and then leave you guys to make up your own minds. Okay, so let's talk about me first. Why do I think grading is a beneficial thing? Well, the coins that I grade are generally not pure bullion coins. They're normally what is affectionately known as semi-numismatic coins. So semi-numismatic usually means that they are potentially desired by collectors over stackers who are collecting or stacking pure ounces of precious metals. They're usually very limited mintage. Quite often they're in 4/9 fine gold, which means that they can be very, very easily damaged. So, where do you draw the line? And I have quite honestly graded some things which are purely bullion because I wanted to have them all in a nice, neat pile with the same kind of containers, and that's a little bit of an indulgence, really, and probably, that's not an example to really set to the community. But other coins, I think, are worthwhile grading, and the cost of the grading is substantial. Clearly NGC are a company, a for-profit company, and everything they do is in order to make money, the same as the mints. In fact, in many ways, the whole of modern coinage is a semi-false and profit-making kind of endeavour from the people who mint the coins artificially to commemorate things, the people who limit mintages artificially, the people who do grading, the people who put little green beans on top of coins. All of this is a kind of artificial construct, and and you can either play along with that and be part of it, or choose to avoid it. And I have chosen to be part of that because I kind of enjoy that as much as I enjoy collecting. Although people say, buy the coin and not the holder, and there's a lot of great common sense in that, I enjoy knowing exactly what grade my coins are. If I have a raw coin, it could be anything. My knowledge is not perfect. I've picked up a lot of knowledge about grading, but it is far from perfect. And to some extent, having a panel of people be able to take a look at my coins and say, is that a 68, a 69 or a 70? Or if it's an older coin, is it a details coin? Does it have a proper grade? I like that. I really do like that. I like the absolute assurance that what I have bought is a particular kind of quality. And when I've bought raw coins, there have been many times that I've bought something thinking, this is absolutely amazing, only to find that when the experts look at it with their expert eyes, it's a details coin. Sometimes there are things I've never even spotted. Maybe a hole repair, maybe a rim fill, maybe an altered surface, maybe surface hairlines. All of these things are things that you wouldn't even worry about if you were just concerned with raw coins. Life would be so much easier. You buy a coin, you sell a coin, no one's worried about whether it will fit into a slab or not. And maybe I've made life too complicated for myself in considering grading as a kind of extra element in coin collecting. So the things that I've had graded, I tend to grade pretty much every piece of gold I get. I think that I treat gold generally as being in my perma-stack. I treat it as a source of wealth. And if I buy something that's expensive, and gold is very expensive in absolute terms, I want to give it the best possible treatment. I want to preserve it in the best possible state. When I come to sell it, I don't want somebody arguing with me, is that a 68? Is it a 69? Has it got a little scratch here? Has it got a little mark here? I want the assurance of a grading company to tell me, and whoever's buying it, that that is a particular grade. And if I sell something and it's graded, then I don't have to worry about somebody coming back and saying, well, it's not what it is. It's not what it says on the box. It's not how it was described. It makes trading, whether it's on eBay or whether it's at auctions, much better. And there are many auction companies, or at least one that I can think of in the States, Great Collections, who will take raw coins from people who want to submit them for auction, and then they will grade them or stick them through CAC, because they want to maximize the assurance and the value of those coins, and they want people who buy them know exactly what they're getting. It's not to say that grading is a bed of roses, because it isn't. There is a nasty side to grading, full of greedy people, and they want to make the maximum value on their coins. You get a lot of American Silver Eagles, or base level Britannias, or really any bullion coin. You have to question whether a coin that has 1 million mintage, maybe take for example the BU version of the Krugerrand and stuff, where thousands of those have been graded. You have to actually question whether what the motivation is. And I don't agree with it. I don't know anyone in our community who really agrees with it. But of course, if these things weren't demanded, or if there weren't buyers, there wouldn't be grading for these kind of coins. So I would never personally grade a bullion coin unless there was somebody who particularly wanted one in their collection, which was a coin which they would treasure. They wanted it to be in a slab. Maybe they were building a set, and they wanted it to be part of their set. So under those circumstances, under some circumstances, it's justifiable. But going after MS-70s on American Silver Eagles, when probably 40% of all bulk American Silver Eagles would grade at 70, to me is lunacy. So that's kind of where I draw the line. But if you take, for example, a gold quarter-ounce Libertad, maybe there's 500 of them in a year minted. Every one of those coins is important. It's important to me. It's going to be important in the future to the people who want to buy them in the best possible condition. And so I think that I would probably go as far as to say I have a duty to keep that coin in good condition. What did Patek Philippe say in the advert? That you buy a Patek Philippe because it's not for you, it's to hold for the next generation. And that's how I feel about some of these very limited edition coins that are out there at the moment. And that's one of the reasons I grade Chinese medals, for example. You say, well, why not keep it in the OMP? Why not keep it protected the way the manufacturer or the minter decided to put it out? You can maybe the slabs are not totally inert. Maybe you can cause spotting or hazing or something like that. And there are arguments to and for on those things. Maybe you shouldn't buy silver at all, from many mints, and that's another argument that we can make a video on. But at the end of the day, I think there are maybe, for example, a Nanjing Panda antique version in brass. There's only 30 of those minted every year, and some of those will be mishandled. Some of them will be damaged through people playing around with them. Maybe in 10 years' time there'll only be 20 left out of the 30. And I want to make sure that the things that I spend my money on, that I believe are good enough to buy and spend money on, are actually the things which will stay around in 15, 20 years. I'm the same thing in other areas of my life. For example, I have a car that I don't use very often, but I want it to be a collector's item in 15 years' time. So I make sure it's looked after and it's serviced properly and it's not damaged or it's repaired quickly. That anything that breaks is repaired and restored, because I feel that I have a duty for that particular car, which is a Jaguar, for the next generation, because there were only 100 of this particular car made. It has a low mintage, and I want to make sure it's preserved. So that's a little bit about my view. I can see from other members of the Silver Forum that a lot of people who bought the new 200th anniversary sovereigns are having them graded. I think that's relatively new for the UK, because if you look at the census for proof sovereigns, you find that I think probably in 2012, 2013, you started getting one or two graded. Before that, there's really no proof sovereigns that have been graded. People have sent a few in over the years, but grading for brand new Royal Mint coins is a new thing, and it's unproven. Why are people grading? They're grading because they see that on a world market, people trust graded coins much greater than they do raw coins. And there's also the impact of the American market. A lot of you guys who are my subs are in America. Probably 85% of the people who are going to listen to this are in America. And America has 1.5 million coin collectors. Now, there's a big interest in sovereigns over the last couple of years, and particularly this year. And I think that will continue in America, and the sovereign will be a much, much bigger collector's coin in the States than it has been over the last 10, 15, 20 years. The people in the UK who are buying their sovereigns and grading them kind of understand that. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because it opens out the possibility of a world market in the things that they're buying. And these are expensive items. People want to have access to a world market. They want to get something which is a 70 grade. Whether that's really meaningful or not is the subject of another video. And so they're grading their coins. But there are also kind of other factors involved, maybe which aren't so good. I think a lot of people buying coins act a little bit like sheep to some extent. That if somebody or 3 or 4 people say that's a good one to go for, a lot of other people think, well, yeah, that's a good one to go for, I'll go for that. And I've noticed that because you see a lot of the same coins coming in for grading. So a lot of the people, for example, on the Silver Forum, they'll all tend to buy the proof Rwanda rooster. They then bought the Krugerrand proof, and they then bought the Pied Fort and the Strike on the Day 200th anniversary sovereign. So there's lots of similar coins. Beatrix Potter, the Peter Rabbit is another example. And it's a question for each individual really. But I don't know for sure whether all those ones, even with the group buying mentality, with crowdsourced wisdom, they are the ones to go for. I really don't. I think that when it comes to collecting, diversification is everything. try not to be seduced by the marketing messages. I try not to read too many of the glossy brochures. I try not to buy too much modern stuff in proportion to older stuff, and I'm still very interested in a lot of the historical kind of material that's around. And I think that it's quite often a good idea when it comes to investing is buy graded or grade coins, but make sure that a proportion of your coins are the older ones as opposed to the newer ones. Modern stuff is nice, there is a place for it, it's very attractive, it's all in nice condition, squeaky, shiny, clean, but it is to some extent a contrived market, and anyone who is collecting should at least put some money and some wealth in older gold, whether that's older sovereigns, shieldbacks, pre-33, California fractionals, really anything where there is an auction history over a period of time which has an upward movement. And coins do move up as well as down in value. A lot of coins are on a down cycle at the moment. Now is a great time to pick up older gold coins, and they do provide better value in many ways than some of the newer, minty, squeaky clean coins. So there's probably a load more to be said on the subject of grading. Maybe I'll make another video on it for my next car journey. But I think for now, probably I've talked enough. And let's hear what you guys think about the subject of grading, because I'm sure that so many people are going to comment and shout out with this one, because there's so many aspects to it. It's such an interesting question in many ways. So let me know what you guys think. Please like and subscribe, and if you have persevered to the end of this rant, then thank you very much, and look forward to chatting with you on comments.